this episode, I spill paint, fill in some seams, and I mask twice because I did a horrible job on the first go around. Now, one thing that I wanted to work on is the Electro optical targeting system. Say that 3 times fast. What I needed to do is try to create different colored panels that kind of give that holographic effect. So what I've got is just a bunch of different Tamiya clears in different kind of shades, and I painted each of those panels. Now, if you're going to do this the right way, paint it from the inside. I already glued it in place, so here you see me gluing the outside. Might have to do a few touch-up bits of that later. Next up is to lay down a primer coat. So I'm using Mr. Surfacer 1500 heavily diluted with Mr. Leveling Thinner. And I kind of just did a couple of very thin coats to it and then moved on. Another cool thing about this kit is it comes with 2 different types of doors for the weapons bays. So we're going to be painting the ones that are going to be used for being open, but you can use the closed ones to actually mask off the different area for the weapon bay. So that makes things a heck of a lot easier. Other kits you might have to actually cut up those panels if you want to display them open, or reverse tape them all together to actually put them into the closed position. So that's pretty cool. Now the Caracal decal set comes with this schematic, and with this paint scheme it's actually not too challenging. There's just 2 colors that you're really focused on. So the first one I'm going to do with the light gray, AK Real Color 253. I'm going to put those panels down first, and ignore the overspray. I promise it is actually a pretty smooth paint job. Now that I have it all masked up, I'm going to use MRP Camouflage Gray. Now with these, I should have used much bigger pieces of tape to create a more straight line. Some of these get a little bit messed up, and so you'll notice where I used a couple sections of tape and it didn't create a perfectly straight line. So sadly I'm going to have to come back and adjust this a little bit later. when starting with a black primer, you can build up the layers on this so it doesn't look like just one flat layer of the camouflage gray. You can have a little bit of different tones as more or less of that black shows through. You can also kind of strategically put it near panel lines, and you can have some really cool effects. For the nerve-wracking part, I'm going to be just peeling off the tape. Point out a few of the areas that I'm going to have to do again. See a few areas where there's a little bit of bleed through, not straight lines, not the best coverage. So we're gonna have to come back with that with some more tape and do it a second time. Touch-up areas. So I used a wired tape to make sure that I've got a full long nice straight line, and just touched up some of those marks. So first the light gray, then I'm going to do some more touch-up with the camouflage gray where it didn't have the best coverage. Painting the different gear doors and everything, or any part that needs to be white, can be very daunting. But what I'm using is Mr. Surfacer 1500 white, and I'm doing that for all the different parts that are white, which just takes a couple of different passes. You don't want it super thick, but you do want some good coverage. Now the Caracal decals are actually quite good, so I'm just using a little bit of Mark Fit Strong underneath, and just positioning the decal where I want it and letting it just do its thing. couple of areas here on kind of the cheeks of the fuselage that just kind of didn't join up perfectly. So I'm just using some acrylic putty in there. Works out really well because you can just take the wet cotton tip and just kind of run it over there, and it'll just kind of leave just what's needed in those crevices. As you can see, the decals went down pretty good. There is a little bit of thickness that we're going to try to overcome with it. So I'm putting on some more AK Gauzy clear coat on top of it, and so we can kind of polish that and make sure that the decal blends into the surface. I give that clear coat several hours, up to a day, to dry, and then I'm taking some just sanding sponges of 1500 grit on them from Infinity, and I'm just kind of sanding over that. You might even do a little bit more grit to it, but I don't want to go too fast and wear into the actual decal and have it look too worn, because this is a little bit of a modern fighter that was probably painted maybe a month ago, since it's a new scheme, so it's going to look pretty clean. So we just do that for all the decals, and then on top of it put another clear coat, and it should blend in really well, especially in the end when we put our final semi-matte coat. It should look in the end like the decals disappear. And here we are. This is our end result for this video. So in the next video, we're going to do a little bit more with weathering. So we're going to use a little bit of washes to it and go through some of the other steps with the cockpit and all of those parts. So make sure that you subscribe and be notified for the next video.